So these YouTubers, do you think they've really disrupted how fights are promoted and boxing and UFC? Do you think they've been good or bad? Because boxing and UFC has sort of not really embraced them fully.
Good question. I don't think they can affect the UFC. I think the UFC is the premier fighting organization on the planet. I think Dana White is a genius. I think that they are completely and utterly insulated from any of this garbage, especially the fact that the YouTubers are boxing and not necessarily fighting in the cage. I think that it's been very good for boxing because I think boxing was dead. Boxing was a corpse, but it was like an alive corpse. It was like Broadway. No one really cares, but it's kind of there. But you kind of want it to stay, but no one really cares.
Yeah.
It was kind of how it was. There's a few big superstar names, but in general, nobody gives a shit about boxing anymore. Everyone cares about MMA. All the children are going to MMA. Everyone's moving over. UFC now owns the fight world. And boxing needs interest, and I think that the YouTubers are bringing interest to the sport. So I think it's a fantastic thing.
So would you fight Jake Paul?
Good question. That was in conversations at some point. I think Jake Paul is a man who is very dedicated to his craft. He is not just a YouTuber. Jake Paul is a boxer. He spends his life training. He has a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resource. The idea that he's just a YouTuber is foolish. KSI is just a YouTuber. Jake Paul is a boxer, and he is certainly the best of all the influencers who are currently fighting today, hands down. Would I fight him? Well, there's not a man on earth I wouldn't fight. It just depends on the scenario. Depends on the situation. For me to fight Jake Paul, it wouldn't be for money, because I don't need money. It wouldn't be for influence, because I'm more famous than him. It would be either a personal beef or me deciding that it was good for me and my brand. It would be a decision I would make very consciously, but I couldn't be bought into it. I couldn't say, hey, you'll be famous. I'm the most famous man on the planet. I don't care, right? But certainly he'd be the only challenge of any of them. He wouldn't be easy to beat. I would knock him asleep, of course, but it would take more than one round. But the rest of them are all just clowns. But Jake Paul is he's a different league to the rest.
So would you fight KSI then if the rest are clowns?
Absolutely. KSI said my name at the end of his last fight. I said yes, then he came out and said I'm too big all of a sudden. He shit himself. So he's a clown. And if Jake were to fight any of them clowns, Jake would destroy all of them. Jake is a boxer, the rest are clowns. Sure, I'd fight KSI. But like I said, I need a genuine reason to do so. I don't need money. I am so many times richer than these people. Like infinitesimally, these guys they're still performing. They're still performing in a circus for pennies, whether it's boxing or anything else. And I did it myself, but you get to a certain level of wealth where you realize I'm beyond it. I'm above it and beyond it. But if KSI genuinely upset me, then sure, I'll have a straightener and whoop his ass. Why not?
Would you fight Floyd Mayweather?
No, and I got offered that fight.
Ah.
Got offered that fight, and he's one of my heroes, so I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Right.
Even though he's small, and he's good. He's James Floyd Mayweather. He's retired and he's small, and I'm a lot bigger than him, and I'd be fine. I wouldn't get knocked out. It'd be totally fine. He's one of my heroes. I think he's the best boxer of all time, and I couldn't bring myself to.
He's been on the show twice.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He's a hero of mine.
Yeah.
I love his story. I love his confidence. I love how he self-hypnotizes. Every single word out of his mouth is self-hypnosis. I love how he hypnotizes his opponents. I love his style. Everyone says he's boring. He is not boring. He is. If you appreciate defense, he's the best there's ever been. I absolutely and utterly love Floyd Mayweather, so I couldn't bring myself to ever throw a punch. I have very few heroes in the world, and he's one of them.
Would you fight Mike Tyson?
Again, no, because he's now old. And I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair, you know? Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in a boxing match. I'm not a boxer, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps if I was a boxer and I was heavier, maybe I can make up a bunch of stories. But the truth is I'm a kickboxer and it's his rule set and he was Mike Tyson. He would have beaten me, so to beat him when he's past his prime just feels dishonorable and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me to fight Mike Tyson.
Would you fight Conor McGregor?
That's an interesting one, I guess. I mean, he's still in his prime. I'm a lot bigger than him. He's very good. He's very capable. We'd certainly have a lot of good trash talk. It'd make a lot of money. But again, I would need a personal problem with him to fight him. The people I want to fight are True Geordie, who I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so he is, the story behind me and True Geordie is very simple. He found out I ran a webcam company. When I was giving my insights on male-female dynamics, saying that I know these things because I have 75 women who work for me, and I also have 75 women who work for me who are being paid by men. So I see the interaction between the man and the webcam girl, I get to hear about the interaction between the man and his wife, who he doesn't fuck, and then there's the interaction between me and my webcam girls. So it's like a hierarchy of every single level. So I understand all of it. So when I was saying this, he did a takedown video on me saying that I only know whores and every girl who works for me is a slut, and that I'm a pimp and all this crazy shit. And I did a reply video saying, listen, some of the girls who work for me are happily married. I think it's very unfair to judge 75 people you've never met and call them all whores and sluts, especially to sit there, he's a bit fat, to sit there like aggressively screaming at camera that these girls are whores. You don't even know them. He seemed very angry. And my brother said, he's way too angry at these girls. Why does he hate these webcam girls so bad? Turns out, a few months later, some messages leaked between him and a webcam girl. That's where his hatred came from. And the messages are him begging to be dominated. He wanted a dildo up his ass. He wanted her to cheat on him. He wanted to worship her, all these crazy shit. And it's all there with his name on it. So then I did another video saying, oh, so it's obviously clear why you had a problem with the girls who work for me, because you're begging them to dildo you and they're saying, you know, it costs this much and I guess you want it for free. I don't know. He had a deep hatred for women. And I identified that. He obviously shut up after that a little bit. He went away, he came back. Then he said my name a few times. And I said, listen, my friend, we've had our conversations. You've insulted all the girls who worked for me, who were very nice girls. He made some full-grown women cry. I had to console them and say, listen, don't listen to this guy. He made full-grown women break down and cry. He's a bad person. He turns out to be a sexual deviant who was mocked on the internet for a very long time. And some people may have forgotten, but I certainly haven't. Our conversations are pretty much over. What's the bottom line? So the only way he can restore honor after begging for a dildo up his ass is to meet me in the cage and beat me. Because then he gets to say I beat up Andrew Tate and he can stop being a dildo lover. But if he refuses to do that, then he can stay a dildo lover for the rest of his fucking human years and just hide from me. But if he wants to fight me, I will meet him in the cage any day of the fucking week. Bare knuckle, twice on a Sunday. And then he can go from a dildo lover to a dildo lover with a broken face, because I will fucking annihilate him. And he knows it, which is why he won't do it. Along with my other detractors, along with the other weirdos, because everyone who dislikes me seems to be weird. Really strange. Everyone who's ever made a takedown video of me on a long enough time frame ends up being a sexual deviant, a pedophile. They're all weirdos. Nobody who supports me has ever come out with some weird shit. But everybody who hates me, sooner or later, there's something weird about them, because I think they hate themselves and they see me as someone they wish they were, as their idol, but they can't admit that. So their idolization gets warped into a strange form of hate. And that's what happens. The other one's Hassan. He's some guy who lives in California. He's really strange. He has this obsession with female drivers and how they're so good at driving. It's a weird guy to talk to. All he talks about is how girls drive better than him. It's weird. Wears dresses, drinks loads of Mountain Dew. Really weird guy. Like the girls he was dating, they were telling me he drinks Mountain Dew all the time. He's very unhealthy. Strange dude. And me and him have had our conversations, and he's scared to debate with me. We debated once and he lost, and he's scared to debate with me. So our conversation is basically over. I said, look, I'll beat the shit out of you. But he's scared. So I win by default. It's kind of cool to win by default. It's kind of like you turn up to the match and or flip a coin and halfway up in the air, they're like, you already win. These people are cowards. So I win by default because no one respects a coward. So all their points of view are invalid because they're cowards. So yeah, bottom line of society, my friend. So the only people I would fight are people who deserve to be annihilated, because I'm an extremely capable person. I'm a feared opponent in all realms of human endeavor. And being in a cage with me, locked inside when I have a personal vendetta against you, is probably one of the worst human experiences a man can go through. I will hurt these people. And they know it. So yes, those are the two I would fight. Anyone else would have to come up with a good reason. I have nothing against Connor. Kind of like the guy. So it'd have to be a good reason. Let's put it that way.
Hey, before you go, if you want to watch the full uncut interview with Andrew Tate, no holds barred, like you've never seen before, you can watch it here. And before you go, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. And remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.